week is inadequate.
USA News.
Attention. This is a public notice from the Social Security Disability Helpline. If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, you may be eligible for disability benefits from Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right. If you suffer from physical or mental disability, whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, we can help. We'll evaluate your situation and deal with Social Security on your behalf. Best of all, there's no fee until you receive your benefits. Remember, we are paid if you win your case. There are many reasons and conditions that may make you eligible for disability benefits. Many of them you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call now to get started with your free, no obligation consultation.
800-559-4185. 800-559-4185. 800-559-4185. That's 800-559-4185.
After a Boeing 737 MAX blew off early into a flight early in January, the FAA has been investigating the company to ensure the planes are safe for flight. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre addresses the investigation in front of reporters.
What we want to make sure, and what FAA wants to make sure, and it is their top priority, that we make the safety, obviously, the safety of Americans as they fly across the country is safe.
There were no injuries during the initial blowout, but the entire 737 MAX fleet was grounded pending investigations. New details being released about the new theme park set to open next year. USA's Ryan Daniels has the details.
Universal Orlando Resorts is revealing new details about its next theme park and hotel attractions. Universal Epic Universe is set to open next year.
With this, I'll introduce
brand new lands. There will be Super Nintendo World, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, Celestial Park, How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, and Dark Universe.
Several U.S. sites have made National Geographic's list of top 20 travel experiences around the globe. To name a few, Route 66 in New Mexico and West Virginia's New River placed on the best of the world 2024. For USA News, I'm Tim Bird.
Like you said, have you ever picked up a towel set because it felt really soft in the store, but then when you go to use it, it's not very absorbent? That's why My Pillow has developed the My Pillow towels. Towels that work. The 6-piece towels that includes 2 bath towels, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths. And right now you can receive a 6-piece set for only $39.98 with promo code USA. Go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener special, and enter promo code USA or call 800-951-8175. That's mypillow.com. Promo code USA.
Following is an America Matters media production. The music expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers. Although we also offer business services. The opinion of America Matters Media.
Whether it be credit lending, home mortgages.
Vote for me, and I'm such a queen. Just another word.
We can definitely take advantage of to help you guys grow, not only financially, but hopefully individually as well. So we have some great things that are going on. We also have some great opportunities on the business lending side. So whether it be reinvesting back into the minority communities, women-owned businesses, anything like that, we actually support that, and we actually are going. I'm sorry.
Red means you're done.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I just got cut short. So once again, we thank you guys for inviting us. And once again, come in and visit us. You guys need anything else? It's BMO Bank. Yes, sir. So thank you once again.
America Matters Live with Eddie Floyd. Coming to you live. Redmove.
We're running a little behind time. The
Spencer Cretan with Heritiage Foundation. We'll be talking.
Spotlight candidate.
Eddie Floyd will be introducing, and at the bottom of the hour,
candidate she's running for U.S.
America Matters 93.7.
Nevada U.S. Senate. Rhonda, take it away. She'll give you a little word.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. It's always fun to hang out with Ray. He's a hoot, right? But I like coming up here. I actually was here not too long ago for the great debate. And then also my son lives about 2.5 hours on the California side from here with my 4 grandchildren. So I just I like this little more intimate setting. The debate was much bigger and not much time. So my name is Rhonda Kennedy. I moved here from Wisconsin. Yes, I am a cheesehead. My poor Packers. And we don't like the 49ers. But I know my team totally blew it. That's not even next year. But so I'm a patriot. I'm a true patriot through and through. My great grandfathers on both sides fought in the Civil War. One ran away from a literal Democrat plantation at 11 years old, joined the Union Army as a water boy. The other one was actually a soldier that died in a Confederate camp in 1865. So when I get asked about my party, being a Republican, I always say, this is my party. This party was started for me, for my ancestors, for my future. And I will never leave it. When I was 18 years old, I registered as a Republican, and I will remain a Republican until I die. But I'm guided. My beacon is the Constitution. If you follow the Constitution, you can't go wrong. Set your personal feelings aside. I don't care how you personally feel. This country wasn't built on feelings. This country was built on God-given rights that was bestowed by God. That can't be abridged by no man. I took an oath as an attorney, and I took that oath to defend the Constitution and follow the Constitution. And I've been doing that. When COVID hit and our government deemed guns non-essential, I got the phone calls like, Rhonda, they closed the gun stores. I'm like, it's impossible. It's unconstitutional. Who would have thought that, maybe people would follow the Constitution? They kept them closed. So I filed the federal lawsuit that forced the gun stores open. So McDougal versus Ventura County is my case. We just settled it. Actually, it's over. It was just dismissed. And the county promised to never close gun stores again. We'll see what happens there. But I use my talent as a litigator to fight for constitutional rights. I didn't charge anything because, there shouldn't be a price tag on people's rights. I'm the only attorney in the entire country that actually defeated the COVID closure orders for 8 businesses where I forced them to dismiss their lawsuits. Thank you. I have one of the only existing 2020 election fraud cases that has survived the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. I just recently sued Meta, Facebook, when my Facebook was hacked and Meta did nothing to give it back. I filed a federal lawsuit. And amazingly, 2 weeks later, they were working on, I got a call right away as soon as they were served, and then I have my Facebook page back. And I finally got verified on Instagram when that was also one of my causes of actions, was like, why is Stacey Abrams verified? She's just a candidate, but she won't verify me. Now I'm verified. So I'm a fighter, and what I've done outside of Congress, Senate part of Congress, is I fought for constitutional rights. Imagine what I'm going to do when I'm elected to Senate. I'm going to continue my fight, and I'm going to hold everyone accountable to make sure that every citizen's constitutional rights are protected and not infringed upon. And I will be the voice for Nevada, and I will be the voice for America to make sure and hold those politicians to the fire. And I'm talking about both sides of the aisle, because we know it's not just that, it's not just the left side, but we have people lurking on the right side as well. So I'm sure I'm out of time. I'm a litigator, so I can stand here and talk all day long.
What do you expect out of a lawyer?
I got time?
No.
Oh, look, he's taking it. That's okay. I will yield my time, and I will reserve some time if I have any left in the end. How about that?
Right.
Okay.
And what we're
Thank you, guys.
gonna do is, just so you know, Channel 8 is here, and we are live streaming. It'll go all over the United States, and the video that you can pick up tomorrow. Rhonda and Eddie Floyd will leave at 12, approximately. We're a few minutes late. and go downstairs to the America Matters radio and TV show at 12:25. But she'll come back and answer any questions that you have. And believe me, being a lawyer, she'll talk your leg off.
And won't charge you.
Yeah, and with that in mind, so we're close to being on schedule, I'll introduce you to Eddie Floyd, that's going to introduce our keynote speaker. And Eddie is our senior commentator, which he likes the new title, founder and host of America Matters Media, Radio and TV. Eddie, take it away.
Thank you very much, Ray Rocha. Now, I tell you what, I'm really kind of honored because today I'm going to be talking to one of the smartest men in this room, making him more intelligent than anyone on Capitol Hill, as far as I'm concerned, you know. But I'm talking about Spencer Foundtaion, and his title is Associate Director, 2025 Presidential Transition Project. But if you don't mind, Spencer, how about personalizing this show for us? Where were you born, educated, and what made you lose your mind to go to Capitol Hill?
Sure. Well, I thank you, first of all, for having me. It's really great to be here in Nevada and to be with so many grassroots conservatives who love our country. I was born in the nation's capital and grew up right outside in Northern Virginia, and it was kind of the right place for politics. It was the right place for government. Just by happenstance, that's where I was born. I graduated from the College of William and Mary, which is about 3 hours south of DC in Virginia, which is my home state. And then I worked in conservative politics for a number of years at nonprofit organizations that are, not unlike the ones that were mentioned here today, and worked a lot with state lawmakers, with grassroots activists, with people in DC, and then went into the Trump administration in 2019, where I worked for Secretary Ben Carson at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and then worked in the White House in the Presidential Personnel Office. And what I'm doing now is at the Heritage Foundation, we have put together Project 2025, and it's almost 100 conservative organizations now have signed up for Project 2025, and it is a plan to take our country back and get people from the heartland, people involved in DC. So that's what I'm doing now. And I should say, we are nonpartisan, nonprofit. We don't speak for any candidate or any campaign. We don't speak for any political party. The ideas in this book and elsewhere in the project are, there for everybody, whether you're anyone who's interested in deconstructing the administrative state and making sure that we have conservative change in DC.
Thank you very much, Spencer. Let's give it up for Spencer.
Eddie, if you don't mind, there's a guest that just came in that I should announce. If Dr. Fred Simons would stand up, he's running for U.S. Senate also. Go ahead.
Should I begin?
Yeah, you should begin with the project.
Great. So how many of you have heard previously of Project 2025 before this event came together? Okay, great. So I'll just go through the slideshow. I won't follow it to the letter. If we can turn the button here, it's not working. But what this is the Heritage Foundation would turn 50 last year in 2023. And there we go. And the Heritage Foundation has always kind of been the convener of the conservative movement. And we're very pleased that we have had so many partner organizations sign up for Project 2025. And what we're doing is trying to pave the way for a successful conservative presidential administration. We are out outgunned and outmatched and outnumbered as conservatives in Washington, D.C. And we are behind the left when it comes to serving in government and when it comes to getting our policies through the deep state, through the bureaucracy. So our vision is that this is a call for Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith and Miss Smith to come to Washington. We need more and better conservative people to help manage the bureaucracy and deliver on behalf of the next president. And the goal also is that this project is not tied to one election or one candidate, but hopefully in the long term, it will outlast 2025 and it will serve as the permanent home for conservative personnel, for presidential transitions. You know, the left has a lot of billionaires. They have a lot of nonprofits in DC already that always are thinking about going into government. They've really mastered the revolving door. They're very good at presidential transitions. We need to build that infrastructure on the right. And so hopefully this project will outlast 2025 and it will become a structure, an infrastructure for this kind of thing on the right, which is in the long term what we need. Our core mission really is to deconstruct the administrative state. The way that Washington operates is, you know, Congress sadly has abdicated a lot of its lawmaking authority to the bureaucracy. Congress writes a lot of bills that say the secretary shall, the secretary shall. And so the actual lawmaking function has become more of a regulatory function, a regulatory state. And so it really matters who is on the inside of those agencies because they're effectively making laws and setting policies that affect millions of people. I think certainly in Nevada, everything that comes out of the Bureau of Land Management, the Department of Interior, the Fish and Wildlife Service, you know, those things really affect people's lives. And a lot of that is being done by unelected, unaccountable people in Washington, D.C., whom nobody voted for and who are sort of interpreting what Congress has said, but they don't always get it right. So what we're trying to do is reassert the principle that we have 3 branches of government, not 4, and we're trying to establish political control of the bureaucracy. You know, the president is the commander-in-chief. He is the CEO. He's the head of the executive branch, and he's entitled to a supportive team. And the checks on the president, we believe in the checks and balances that are laid out in our Constitution, which is that the 3 branches of government check each other. But we don't want a rogue administrative state, a rogue bureaucracy that pursues its own agenda instead of the actual agenda of the executive branch, which is the president's. So we want to reassert political control of the federal government. And I think it's helpful to give some numbers to put things in perspective. You hear a lot at political events about the big government, the federal government, the size and scope of it. It's much too large. But you have about 2 million, about 2.2 million actually, full-time non-military federal employees. And then you have about 16 million federal contractors. At times it's as high as 20 million. Those are the people who actually do much of the work of government through their contracts. And the number of political appointees who are inside the government, who are people who actually can get hired and fired by the president, who serve at the pleasure of the president, who have to resign when there's a change in administration, that's typically about 3,000 to 4,000. And 1,100 of those have to be confirmed by the Senate, which doesn't happen on day one, if ever. And you know, it's not a good ratio, 3,000 to 4,000, trying to manage a 2 million federal workforce and 16 million contractors. So we need to make sure that we have a full fleet ready to go in 2025 for whoever the next conservative president is. I'll show a couple charts, but you know, I mentioned at the beginning, the left controls the institutions. We know that. We know that at the school board level. We know that in academia. We know that even in the NFL and corporate America, and you name it, the left is in control. And there's nowhere that that's more true than in the federal government. It feels like when there's a conservative president, whether it's President Trump or President Reagan or other conservative presidents, the bureaucracy can just outweight a president who has a 4-year term. We're always playing catch up. We're always behind the 8 ball. We're always kind of fighting the last battles. And so we need to address these issues in the long term, because conservative presidents are entitled to an executive branch that is as deferential to their agenda as progressive presidents. That's our overall vision here. This is a chart. I encourage you all to familiarize yourself with it, but it starts in the second half of Bill Clinton's presidency, the second term of Bill Clinton in 1997, and it goes through the first 3 years of the Trump administration. Honestly, we need to update this chart. But if you look, when the blue line is high, that means that a Democrat is president. And when the red line goes high, that means a Republican is president. And you'll notice the blue line goes a lot higher than the red line. This is the number of political appointees who are that 3,000 to 4,000 people I mentioned. The number of them, the percentage of them who share the president's political affiliation. Notice that even during conservative administrations, we're struggling to get 60% of the positions filled with aligned, like-minded people. But when there's a liberal president, it's much higher. So we need to make that red line go as high as the blue line in 2025, because those are the people who are supposed to be making policy and managing the massive, massive federal bureaucracy. I'll talk a little bit about how we're organized, but I'm the Associate Director of Project 2025, and I served in the Trump administration. As I mentioned, I was a Special Assistant to the President and Associate Director of Presidential Personnel. And then my boss, Paul Dans, who is the director of this project, he was Chief of Staff at the Office of Personnel Management in the Trump administration. And the Office of Personnel Management, or OPM, that's really the hardwiring of the bureaucracy. And it helps set the requirements for the federal workforce. It's kind of the federal government's HR department. And it's a very important office because it determines things like who has to work from home when there's a pandemic or when there's a blizzard, and who gets to come into the office, and how do you deal with federal employees who aren't doing their jobs well, and the pensions, the hiring, promotion requirements, things like that. That comes through the Office of Personnel Management. So that's our background, Paul and me. And then we work with the Heritage Foundation, with all of our policy departments and our communications department, just about every part of the Heritage Foundation, and also 90 partner organizations, more than 90 now, whether it's America First Legal, the Conservative Partnership Institute. 3 of my old employers are part of the project, but we've got libertarians, we've got social conservatives, we've got people inside DC, people outside DC, state-based groups. We've got just about everybody, and it represents a broad cross-section of the conservative movement. And what we've done is we've come together to outline what a vision of conservative success looks like across the federal government. You can see our full list of partner organizations is here, but we've got groups that are focused on students, groups that are focused on veterans. We've got Tea Party groups. We've got one group called Feds for Freedom, which is all the federal employees who were forced out of their jobs because they wouldn't comply with unconstitutional COVID mandates from the Biden administration. We've got, student groups, a lot of different groups, state policy network groups in the states. And we're still growing. We're still gaining more members, more traction. The Leadership Institute, which does a lot of training for conservatives, I heard their name mentioned earlier today. That's another one of our groups. Turning Point and Young America's Foundation. We've got a lot of folks signed up for this. It's rare in Washington, D.C. for conservatives to work together. We're always, fighting our turf wars and competing, but for this project, everybody's decided to put aside their differences and row in the same direction. I'll get into a little bit about why we need this project. The official presidential transition starts in May of an election year. And The left, of course, is doing it all the time. So we started this project in the summer of 2022 to allow ourselves a long runway to prepare for the next president. And again, it's ultimately up to the next president what he or one day she will be pursuing as policies. But we're trying to convene the best minds and the best talent now so that we're able to give a boost to whomever it is. And the other thing I should mention is that the Heritage Foundation and many of our partner organizations have always served as policy think tanks and a policy resource for conservatives in Washington and on Capitol Hill and in state capitals. And what we're doing is we're building on that past work that we've done, but also adding new elements so that we're doing this more comprehensively. And in that regard, the project has 4 pillars. And the first pillar is sitting right here on this desk. It's our policy book, Mandate for Leadership. It's available for free at project2025.org. It's been downloaded hundreds of thousands of times. The left is not a fan of the project. They're losing of the book, especially. They're kind of outraged about it. But what we've done is we had over 400 people contribute to this book. And it goes chapter by chapter, agency by agency, with every chapter corresponding to one federal agency. So there's a chapter on the Department of Defense. There's a chapter on the Department of Health and Human Services. There's a chapter on the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which my old
93.7 American Matters Media.
And we had
creation with the Heritiage Foundation speaking right now.
There's
Bottom
a
of the hour, we're going to
chapter
take a break here.
that
Eddie Floyd's
says
coming up
America should have
with interview
free
for
trade, and a chapter that says
Senate
we have fair trade.
candidate.
So there
Nevada.
are competing views in some areas where conservatives are divided.
Stay tuned.
There's a chapter
We'll be right
saying we
back.
should keep the Export-Import Bank, and there's a chapter saying we should close it down. So
At a Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe
conservatives.
styles and
We're giving
sizes for
men-
both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by a Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
Hi, I'm Noreen Leary, CEO of the Veterans Guest House. Guest House is a home away from home for our veterans and their families who travel to Reno for medical care. Our house is more than just a warm bed. It's a place of camaraderie where veterans can find support and long-lasting friends. We serve veterans, men and women, young and old, Navy, Army, Marines, Coast Guard, and Air Force. Wherever they hail from and whatever their circumstance, the Veterans Guest House is ready to support them. The reason we feel so strongly about our mission is that we know that many veterans would forego their medical treatments because they simply can't afford the accommodations. The guest house is one of a kind in the country, funded entirely through private donations. Want to know how you can help? There are many ways you can be involved, from volunteering, providing dinners, or supplying items from our wish list. Find out more about the guest house at www.veteransguesthouse.org. Serving veterans today, tomorrow, and for years to come.
Sliced fresh sandwiches every day, made right before your eyes. The Port of Subs way. Could be a smoking number 5 or a classic number 8, or maybe an Italian is your number 1 fave. Whatever you crave, prepare to fall in love. Sliced fresh sandwiches, Port of Subs.
We're slicing up the quality you crave at Port of Subs. You know, the taste of your favorite sliced fresh meats and cheeses on Port of Subs fresh baked bread, and all of those crunchy, crispy veggie toppings with your favorite savory sauces. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. It's that special Port of Subs quality and blends of flavors that keep you wanting more. Visit your neighborhood Port of Subs today, and we'll slice up the taste you're craving. Order online at portofsubs.com or on our mobile app.
Whatever yummy number you're dreaming of, sliced fresh sandwiches, Port of Subs.
The Delta and Bonanza saloons in Virginia City are simply elegant. Imagine ascending the grand staircase and being surrounded by the Victorian elegance and grandeur of the historic banquet rooms. Original crystal chandeliers, mahogany bars, and oak dance floors highlight the eloquently appointed spaces. A truly romantic and unique setting for your wedding, banquets, or holiday parties. Detailed ceremony and menu planning ensures your special event is a memorable occasion. With just one call to Jesse at 775-847-0789, all of your arrangements will be handled by their experienced staff with your every expectation in mind, including cakes, flowers, photography, videography, music, and party amenities. Complete ceremony and reception packages are available, as well as their famous themed weddings. Since 1865, the Delta and Bonanza Saloon's guests have come from every state in the Union. Now it's your turn. No event is too large or too small. Let the Delta and Bonanza Saloons plan your next incredible event. Call Jesse at 775-847-0789.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
You better believe we're back to America Matters with Eddie Floyd today. Joining me is Shanamo Lawson, and he and I both have the really fortunate opportunity to be interviewing Rhonda Kennedy. She's a candidate for United States Senate, and that's going to be representing the great state of Nevada right now. Rhonda, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, let me put that mic
I'm right
up.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
There
Can you hear me? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. He'll tell you that whether you're coming in loud and clear or not, just right in front of your lips. Is
Yeah.
fine. There you go. But anyway, Rhonda, how about you doing what we just had Spencer Cracion do upstairs, and that is personalize this show for the viewers on television and the listeners on all the radio stations carrying us, like Radio for America, The Answer, Salem, you name it, Kevin Jackson Network. We're on every one of those, plus so many others. And we're also on 3 television shows right now, like AUN is one that I know you've heard of in California.
Yes.
But if you would be kind enough, personalize the show. Where were you born? Where were you educated? And what in the world caused you to lose your mind and run for office?
Well, I was born in Wisconsin, and so I'm a Midwesterner, and we're really nice, but we're kind of crazy too. That's why I'm running for.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. You got the cheese head in the car,
Oh
probably.
my God, I do. I actually do, and my Packer pillows.
Yeah.
But yeah, so born in Wisconsin. My roots deep run through there. My great grandfather was the first Black state assemblyman for the state of Wisconsin.
Wow.
His first cousin, started the first Black bank, and actually started the Wisconsin chapter of the NAACP. My grandparents, my grandmother started the first Black flower shop in Wisconsin.
Wow.
So we're entrepreneurs through and through. Our family didn't wait for handouts.
Right.
When my grandmother graduated from floral design school and she was top of her class and no shops would hire her, she opened up her own shop.
Good for her.
And that's and those are the ethics, and that's the work ethics that I was grown.
Now correct me if I'm wrong, Rhonda, but your grandma, that was a time when it was very, very difficult for Blacks, period.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm very proud because you also had relatives, I remember from you speaking upstairs
Yes.
to the big, large group upstairs that the family was involved in the Civil War to some degree.
Yes. Both my great grandfathers on both sides of my family. On my mom's side, he ran away from his literal Democrat plantation at 11 years old. He was too young to fight in the war, so he was a water boy. And on my dad's side, that grandfather actually was a soldier and died in a Confederate prison camp in 1865. So I always I educate. Like, I was just down on the historical west side of Las Vegas, Black community, and I had a 5-hour conversation where they were just thirsty, just asking me questions. And I was able to, convert a lot of people on history, because, history is not taught in school anymore.
No.
The Republican Party was started for us,
Right.
Against
They
slavery.
don't realize that.
No.
People have no clue that it was the Republican Party that ended slavery. It was the Republican Party that said, hey, look, we're going to win this war and we're going to give the Blacks what they deserve. Okay, period.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, we lost, in my opinion, one of the greatest presidents that ever existed.
things would be so differently, I
Amen.
believe, if Lincoln hadn't been assassinated. And I could say like Republican Party, right, in Wisconsin.
Right.
But you know, and even President Grant, if he would have stayed strong and stuck to his beliefs, he let a lot of influencers kind of derail him from Reconstruction. But and that's a Republican president who sent soldiers to the South to protect freed slaves, to ensure that free slave children could go to school. This was a Republican president. President Grant did this.
Right.
And so I like to educate about our history, our real history. And why would you abandon a party? Don't say, oh, the Republican Party is racist. How is it racist?
Yeah.
It was started for us.
It even gets worse than that, Rhonda. I've got to tell you, I'm white, therefore I'm a racist. I'm a white old man racist, and that seems to be the way the Democrats are painting us. Period. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. As soon as you say you're Republican, and then they see you're white, they see you're a man, then you're racist, and that's prejudice. And the definition of prejudice is prejudging. So now you're being prejudged because of the color of your skin,
Right.
because of your gender. I mean, don't you want to be treated equally like everyone else does?
Amen. Amen. You know, I was born in a little teeny fishing community in northeastern Florida called Mayport, Florida. Okay. And we were the minority in Mayport. The majority were black. The second majority were Portuguese, and I'm Minorcan. And we were the third, okay? And when we played sandlot football, let me tell you what, if I dropped the ball, they used the N-word on me all the time, okay? It didn't mean anything. It didn't mean color. It just, you know, it was just a word that you used because I dropped the football, you know? And what really irks me is when somebody, I'll be a guest on a show back east or something like that, and they'll say, yeah, you're one of those right-wing radio talk show host. You know, that means that you're absolutely a racist. Nothing could be further from the truth. My best friend's name was Jeep, okay? And he would make you look like a snowflake, young lady. He really would. And the bottom line was, that was when everybody got along. Everybody got along.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like the whole division, it's by design. Because it's literally, divide and conquer.
Right.
So if they have people at each other and not really seeing what's actually going on, that we're all being affected, it's just a way to divide us, and then we're not paying attention. And if you notice, it was around Obama that the division really started to
Exactly.
divide.
Exactly.
And it was by design.
It was. You know, I remember his words. He was going to change America. You know, he was going to absolutely change the way America looked at everything. And you know what? He followed the Communist Manifesto almost to the letter, in my opinion.
Yeah, he did. And the fact that, you know, I have people in the Black community that says, you know, I don't like America. You know, it's not this isn't my country. I was like, if it's not your country, well, where do you want to go?
Yeah.
At any time. I mean, like, I'm like, and they're like, well, you know, what about Africa? I was like, you can go to Africa. But me, I'm an American, number one. Number two is I'm not going to be oppressed, not living in someone's hut. I'm not going to be told what to do. I'm not going to have any rights, because there, as a woman, I wouldn't have any rights. But here, under the protections of the Constitution, I'm a woman, a Black woman running for the United States citizen. I have the freedom to do that because of America.
Yeah. And you know what? I've got to share with you. If more people in America just simply followed the Constitution, we're not talking about, you know, like a manual to a GM vehicle or something. We're talking about something that fits in my back pocket. A little teeny, if you will, Constitution of the United States fits in my back pocket. I don't have one there now because I gave it out earlier this morning, and I do that every day of my life. Every time I walk into the studio, somebody will come in and I'll say, hey, do you have one of these? It won't take you long to read it, and if you read it, you'll be a lot better American.
Exactly. Because if we know our rights, then we would defend them and protect them, right? But if you don't, if you don't know the rights that you have, it's easy for them to take them because you don't know that you're protecting something.
Right.
And I do volunteer work. I did volunteer work in Watts, where I would go and give constitutional classes, because like BLM marching and all of this other BS about, police, blah, blah, blah. But if you know your rights, then, that's what you exercise. And, and when BLM was saying the Constitution is racist, I mean, that's the most ignorant thing I've ever heard.
Isn't that unbelievable?
How is it racist? Every single right. And then I would ask them, I said, okay, so if you go outside and the police just want to search you, can you have the right to do that? Well, no, they can't do that. You know why? Because of the 4th Amendment in the Constitution.
That's where it's at.
Like,
And what's so amazing to me, I tell people all the time, you get pulled over for speeding,
yeah,
and the policeman says to you, "I'd like to look in your trunk." No, you don't let him look in your trunk unless he has a warrant to look in your trunk.
Exactly.
Okay. We have laws to protect every race, color, creed in America. Okay. And they're all important. That's why we're Americans.
Exactly. And I'm so glad that you know. I mean, so many people don't know that it's not. No, that's where you have an expectation of privacy. Wherever you have an expectation of privacy, they can't search without consent. In the car, that's all they need is reasonable suspicion. They don't need probable cause.
Sure.
So you know, and a lot of people don't understand that. But if you're educated and armed with your rights, you're, no matter what color you are, you're protected. And we always have bad apples in every profession.
Right.
You can't condemn a whole profession just because of one bad actor. And I always say, okay, well, if this officer is wrong, they don't have the final say.
Right.
The final say belongs in the court with a jury of our peers. So you deal with it there. You don't deal with it on the street. You deal with it in the courtroom.
Of course, I know the answer to this. Okay.
What?
But you sound like, and so I'm going to say, are you an attorney?
I am.
Okay. Well, you certainly sound like a great attorney.
Thank you.
I learned that the night of the senatorial debates at Atlantis, okay, when you stood up and did such a phenomenal job there during those debates, and just one thing you've got going for you, you're just the cutest short little thing I've ever seen in my life, But the reality is, is that every time someone stood up with a question, be they a moderator or somebody in the audience, you had the answer. You didn't have to think for a moment. You knew the answer. It was almost as if you weren't talking to me as a moderator. You were talking to me as a juror.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And the way I see it right now, that is something really needed when you get to Capitol Hill.
Exactly.
Okay. Because they are going to treat you. Okay. I don't care what anybody says. I've been there. I was a PIO. I was campaign manager. I've been on Capitol Hill for congressman, been on Capitol Hill for senator, and I've worked for both as campaign manager and PIO. And I've got to look you in the eye and tell you something. Ready? They're mean up there. They are really mean to the new people. Okay. But once you're there, unless you hold your ground and don't start eating from the same trough they're eating from, okay, then I tell you what, they're going to be mean to you until they realize, wait, I better shut up with this girl, okay?
Yeah.
Right?
That's so true. I mean, you got me pegged right away because and this is my secret, and I hope my opposing counsels don't ever hear this, but my weakness is niceness. So when people come at me, and they come at it, I'm a counter puncher. I'm not a bully, so I can't punch you first. I can't do it. But if you come at me sideways and you're doing something that's wrong, then that's when I come out.
Well, being a rancher, I'd say that means I've got the bull by the tail, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So, and I'm the nicest person in the world, and I'm very compassionate, but I'm also a fighter. And when it comes to the Constitution, I mean, I've had death threats. My co-counsel was murdered. They did a Dateline special on it. Because I was fighting for kids who were being trafficked through the CPS system. And the judge that was, that the assassination attempt was on her in New Jersey was the same guy. She was just assigned part of the Epstein case. And it was just, I didn't stop. I didn't stop until I got the final threat, and my family just begged me to stop. But today, I need to go back for those kids.
Wow.
I feel guilty and bad because I left the case for my own life, and I'm thinking about all the kids that have been suffering because I didn't stand.
I get it. You know,
but when I get the Senate,
I'll tell you something. One thing I've got to say, Rhonda, and I say this on the air several times throughout the year. I'll say, you know, they might only make up 1/3 of our population, but you've got to remember they make up 100% of our future. And we're talking about the children.
Exactly.
That means that your office, the senator, is so important, but so are the school board elections. You know, tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're right. And I was just saying this the other day. We need to support each other because, you know, we have limitations of power. But as a U.S. senator, I can't come in and tell Nevada legislators how to run the schools and that.
Right.
But the legislators can come to me and say, hey, this is our issue. We need help. And as the power of the purse strings,
right,
I can assist them in accomplishing the things that they need. And same thing with the state legislators, with the county, and the county with the city and local. We all need to support each other in our various roles when we need help.
May I ask you what law school you went to?
I went to Abraham Lincoln University School of Law, which I acted as the dean for about 2 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And because I always said I want to make an army of lawyers. Because the battle is in the courtroom now, as we can see today. And I've said this for years, but now you can see how they've weaponized the courtroom. Look at President Trump. It's a disgrace looking at that.
You know, I'm going to only ask you one favor. Ready?
Okay.
When you get to Capitol Hill, okay? When you get to Capitol Hill, and I know you're hoping it's after this election, but when you get to Capitol Hill, do me a favor.
What's that?
Help me throw some of these people in prison, okay, where they belong.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And I said this at the debate, and I absolutely mean it. And I don't know why no one else is doing this right now when they have the power, is they need to impeach these judges who are abusing their authority.
Right.
We all took an oath. And they're violating their oath right now.
Yeah, exactly. As a matter of fact, if you don't mind, let's go to the gentleman pretending to be our president right now. Okay. He took an oath to protect the people of the United States. And on day one, he opens the border and allows every criminal you can possibly imagine to just walk across the border, bring in drugs, sex trafficking, you name it, things that quite frankly, and you know, I'm an old Florida graduate, but contrary to popular belief, we know how to cry too. And when I think about what's happening to some of these poor children, it makes me want to cry.
Yes. And the thing is, like, they look the other way. It's not like you don't know what's going on.
Right.
They know exactly what's going on, but they look the other way. And I had to take a double look at Gavin Newsom saying that Republicans don't want to solve the border crisis. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, what? Is he delusional? Did he just say that?
He did.
I was like, well, what are you talking? You're the one for open borders and giving free stuff to everyone who floods in. And I was serious during the debates. We give billions of dollars out to various countries. Cut their aid off. We're taking care of their citizens.
Amen.
Cut it off.
Let
them. Then we won't have to deport because it'll be a self-deportation because their own government will be recalling them back.
Right.
Because we cut their aid off.
And by the way, you just proved another thing to me that's in your favor. Okay. You said, you know, am I delusional when I think that Gavin Newsom is delusional? No, you're not delusional. He's delusional. Okay. We're talking about the twin brother to Trudeau. Okay. And I'm telling you, I can't believe this, but what he has done to the Canadian people, I want to go up there myself and fight for them as much as I do fighting right here in America, because they're being treated as bad, if not worse, than we are here in America.
Yes, and I bet some of them wish that their ancestors would have joined us when we declared our independence, right?
Amen, amen. You know what? Let me tell you what, and I'm gonna pay credit to my wife right now. Okay, one of the things that I personally believe is that most of our problem right now is because we took God out of schools, courtrooms, public buildings, etc. And unfortunately, we took them out of, the household. we took God out of the household so that parents, even it be a single parent, they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have a natural fear of your parents. It's a respectful fear.
Right.
And you also have that same respectful fear of God. And when you take that out and you feel that there's no higher power, there's no consequences for your actions, you can see the change in the generations. And also when states like California, all these liberal states, make it a crime to actually discipline your children. People are afraid to discipline their children because they're afraid of the repercussions. They're afraid of, here comes CPS at your door, here comes, and then they come in. But I'm a firm believer in that discipline. Like,
right.
My grandparents raised me, and
same here.
Yeah. And so it's like a different generation. And I'm grateful that I was disciplined because I'm the person I am today because of that. And but that's another thing. It's like the kids go out, they rob, they steal, they smack talk in the classrooms, and the parents, some of them just don't care, but some of them, their hands are tied. They're fearful, and so it's not just taking guns out of school, but I believe in also taking the discipline away.
And we just heard from see that Gerald Antonoro. We call him Farmer Jerry now, but for 2+ years we called him Sheriff Gerald Antonoro because he was the sheriff of Story County. And if you notice what he said when the Washoe County Commission opened their meeting with a satanic prayer, you know that things have gone to
what?
HELL. And what does he mean by that? I'll probably get fined, but that's okay. He means hell. He means it because when Washoe County opened the county commission meeting with a satanic prayer, and I'm sitting there going, where do I live? Is this not wrong? Isn't it America? Huh?
This is America. But you know what? That's interesting because they could have been sued. I mean, because Satanism is considered to be a religion, right? So they violated it as well. So if you can't have a prayer about God, then you can't have a prayer about Satan. So somebody should have filed a lawsuit.
Yeah, there you go. You know any good attorney?
What's good for the goose, right?
Amen. Well, let me tell you what. When they did that, it just broke my heart. The other thing that really breaks my heart is the people, and I'm going to say it again, that are on Capitol Hill right now who put their hand on the Bible and took an oath to protect you and I, did the absolute opposite on day one. They opened the border and said, come on now and vote. Make sure you vote for me, though, when you come over here.
Exactly, because I let you in. Or the ones who support terrorist organizations.
Oh, amen.
Yes. Yeah, and we know who we're talking about.
Yeah, we do.
And then didn't put their hand on the Bible. They put their hand on the Quran, that's what they want to do. But let's just be honest and open it up. Let people judge. Don't be fake and hiding and pretending like you're something you're not. Be public about it so that voters can be educated when they vote for you. And I'm like, they're crying about what's going on, protecting terrorist organizations like Hamas. Let's just face it, Hamas is a terrorist organization. And people right here in America in their own districts are suffering.
Right.
High murder count, 174 people that's already been murdered. Well, no, it's more higher than that. It's 196 people in St. Louis. And let's just talk about Detroit. So you have these two Democrats boo-hoo-hooing about terrorists, and your district looks like a war zone.
Right.
Take care of America.
Hey, you know what? And here's what really gets me, okay?
Yeah.
These northern states that are blue, if you will, they're blaming Greg Abbott. They're blaming, Ron DeSantis. They're blaming the red states for sending the people that they allowed to come across the border and ruin their state, ruin their cities, and ruin their citizenry as far as their personal property goes.
Yep. I love it. I mean, that's the most brilliant thing ever. It's like, oh, okay, you want to open the borders? Okay, well, here's a sign. Go right there. Let's camp out at Nancy Pelosi's house. With her gated, with her high gate.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And it's so funny when I was in Beverly Hills and they had a Biden-Harris sign in front of their mansion with a huge gate that you couldn't even see into.
Oh, sure.
But it was right outside the gate. I was like, oh, so you have a gate and you have a border and you have a wall, But we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to have one on their actual border.
Exactly.
Hypocrites.
Let me tell you what. You just described 99.9% of everybody on Capitol Hill right now. And I'll tell you, if there's one thing that I'm going to beg you to do, please don't break my heart. If you do go to Capitol Hill, you will not know how many times in the last 48 years that I've been doing this, and that's talking to wonderful people like you, have said, boy, when I get there, I'm going to change things. And then when they get there, they start eating from the same trough, period.
No. Well, that's why I run on, look at my record. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do when I get there. I'm just going to continue to do the things that I have been doing, but on a grander scale. And I expect people like yourself and every other American and every other Nevadan to hold me accountable. If it seems like I'm like steering from, it's pick up the phone and hold me accountable, because I'll be held accountable.
Well, I'll do worse than that,
What's
okay?
that?
Which I've done about probably 19 times. I will call you, okay?
Yes.
And they'll pull you out of session because it'll be critical that you talk to me, because I'll say, what are you doing? Okay? So, Rhonda, thank you so much for being my guest today. And thank you for the great job you did when we did the debates. And thank you for the wonderful job you did upstairs in the first part of today's show.
Thanks. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. My pleasure.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about